Well, thank you so much for joining us again. You're watching Smart 24 TV in case you just joined in, and still SMB continues. Right now we talk with experts, we talk with analysts who tell us and advise us better for the betterment of our different sectors. For this particular morning, we're going to discuss women in manufacturing and value addition. How better can we add value to what we produce? How better can we conquer the trade area? And also joining me now to discuss all this is Julian Nyabuhara, who is the founder and executive director at Uganda Women in Trade and Manufacturing. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you too. Thanks for hosting me. Thanks for having me this morning.
And if we could start with you assessing for us how manufacturing and value addition coordinate towards trade.
Well, it's a chain.
Okay.
So there is no way you can have manufacturing without trade, because it's you start with manufacturing or value addition, and then the trader is the one who sells your product. So that's how they are directly related. So when we talk about manufacturing and trade in correlation, there is no way one can work without the other. These are things that are intertwined.
So they go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand.
And is that reflected as we speak now? Does that reflect here in our manufacturing activities that go on and on day by day? Do you see that coordinating effectively in Uganda?
Because there is a lot of importation in this country, so we cannot say that they correlate very well in this country, because we have some areas that are doing importation. More of what we are doing in this country is importation than trade. So we are not doing a lot of manufacturing, processing, and then trading. We are not doing that.
All right.
But then that's why we came out to ensure that we bridge that gap as women.
Okay.
Yes.
And as women manufacturers, from a manufacturer's perspective, explain to us how concerned you are with the escalation of the increased commodity prices in the country. Does that concern you?
Yes, of course it does, Rita. This is something that should concern every Ugandan. You see, when commodities, when their prices go up, it ends up creating inflation. And inflation is whereby the basic commodities are too high, are too expensive for any citizen, for most of the citizens. So we are concerned, because even us in the manufacturing sector or value addition sector, most of our commodities, the commodities we use in the manufacturing sector, have increased prices. These are the raw materials. For example, let me give an example for women who make soap. For example, those who add value, who make soap. We've noticed that all their raw materials have tripled prices.
Not even doubling, tripling.
Tripling. And that is because they tell you fuel. That's the problem. They tell you taxes.
Russia, Ukraine.
They tell you Ukraine. Because most of the chemicals they use are imported. Almost 90% of the chemicals they use are imported. So that has led to the increase of the prices of the products. You all know that soap is almost, there are few people who can manage to buy soap now. So most people have reduced from from a big bowl of soap to a small piece of soap, because they cannot afford. And the other disadvantage with the increase in commodities is that it reduces the purchasing power. Someone who has been buying a box of soap cannot afford it now, because a box of soap is around 60 or 70,000 now, from around 30,000. So the purchasing power has gone down. So people are buying in small quantities because the money is not there.
As women manufacturers, how are you dealing with all this situation? How are you managing?
As women manufacturers, what we are trying to do is to ensure that we fit in what is happening. First of all, there is no way we can run away from it. But we are trying to raise our voices. That's why we are coming out and talking and saying, government, please, what can you do? Because this is something that is affecting the manufacturers themselves. It is affecting the whole chain of the business entities. It is affecting the manufacturers, it's affecting the middlemen, those who do the trading. It is affecting the end users, the consumers. They're also being affected. Because, for example, we know, like, for example, pads for girls, they are almost unaffordable now. So, and these are the small products that women have been manufacturing. Actually, the products that women have been manufacturing are more affected. Because you are well aware that most of the women in this country do, the kind of manufacturing we do is cottage industries. We do kitchen factories. We have small kitchen factories. We have small cottage industries. We have garage factories. Those are the majority of the factories that we have as women in this country. So we realize that most of the raw materials we use, because we use very small amounts of raw materials, we don't buy in huge, we don't import. So we end up using very, very small amounts of raw materials that we buy, and the prices are too high.
The prices remain costly. What
Yes.
other challenges are you facing as women traders? Because I understand the organizer, you're from a trading even background. You
Yes.
cannot be in manufacturing when you do not know the trading world.
Yes.
Or otherwise, whom are you manufacturing for? You are, at the end of the tunnel, you're going to trade.
Yes.
If you could share with us how you are facing some of the barriers in trade and what solutions are you even creating? Because it's one thing about speaking challenges all the time. I don't want us to talk about challenges because I know someone like you, manufacturer like you, another woman manufacturer is looking up to you. They are facing the same challenges. And then help them address them, because I know at least you've created a kind of way you are trying to solve it. Please share with us those challenges and how solutions are being created there.
Of course, the biggest challenge as women in trade and business, first and foremost, is lack of resources, enough resources. Resources to do as we would have wanted to run large-scale enterprises. So we end up running small-scale enterprises. So we lack resources as in finances, as in limited raw materials. Then the other challenge that we have is getting the type of raw materials that we want are not the kind of raw materials that we get in on the market. Just because we do not have the capacity. Because if you go out there and you decide to import as a businesswoman and you're importing containers of raw materials, you get a better bargain than if you're buying raw materials from here. So we face some of those challenges. Other challenges that we face is infrastructure. For example, how many of the women can afford to build good factories, good big factories? So we have an issue with infrastructure. And that's why we are trying to talk to government to ensure that let's consider women when allocating, for example, land in these industrial parks. We've not had a provision, a gender provision.
You're advocating for a women entity in these industrial parks. Government always, initiates.
Yes.
To create a special space.
A special space for women in these industrial parks. Because government is working on setting up 25 parks throughout the country, industrial parks. But we've not had a voice of women. Have you heard anything about women?
Probably advocates are working on it. But how best, if given chance, can you utilize and compete favorably, not just locally, but also in the international global markets? How far can you shine?
We can shine if we are given an opportunity. The biggest challenge as women we faced is markets of our products. By the way, it's not even resources. Because if a woman can make her product and she accesses the market, then she can be able to generate her own finances to grow her own businesses. But now we are looking at markets. How do we market our products? Do we have the markets for these products? For example, if you're making cosmetics, we have women who make cosmetics out of ghee, We have women who make cosmetics out of shea butter. We have women who make cosmetics from different things. So we are saying we need markets. We need international markets. We need to be able to get information about local markets. We need to get information about international markets. We need to get information about international markets.
Okay.
Such that, and again, get information about what is going on in the world. For example, free trade, like
the continental
East
area.
African continental free trade area. What benefits do we have there as women? What's our cut as women? And how shrewd are we to get out there? How are we being supported by government to ensure that we also get our share?
I feel like, does it have to be government on everything?
Government has a big part it plays. Because already we are, as women, we are surrounded with so many, we have issues with inferiority complex, for example. We don't run in a shrewd way like men do. If they say there is a tender in government to supply something of around 2 billion or 3 billion, how many women in Uganda can go for that? Like how many? So they should even to go around and ask information, that where do I start from? So we are saying government helps to give a platform. It says, okay, we are creating a platform. Like you've given me a platform here to come and talk. And they are saying, okay, we need to listen to you. We are a special group.
Okay, then. And you could be given chances. We see fundings that have been provided to groups, and I'm not speaking about gender here, cross-cutting, both youth, women, to Ugandans. But some businesses, sometimes new businesses, don't even last to see their 5th birthday. I'm speaking about their 5th year celebrating. Why do you think that is so? What is why do you think that is so? And also, what do you think can be done to mitigate plans in regards to that particular perspective?
I think it is how the business, first of all, starts. What support are we going to give? Are we giving to most of these businesses in this country? Most of our businesses, there are few businesses that get any kind of support. Some bit of training, some bit of mentorship, some bit of whom do they look up to? Whom do they go to in case of any challenges? And we've noticed most businesses in this country are being affected by finances. Our finances are very our bank loans are very expensive for our businesses. When a business starts, it has a lot of running costs that are going on. So if you add on getting a loan that is expensive already, that's what kills the business before it's 5 years. And then we have challenges like, do you have any training? Where are you coming from? What's your background? How did you enter into the business world? Did you do your research? Because we've noticed most Ugandans, they get an idea and dive into it. There is not enough research that is being done. And
more so now there is copy and paste that is happening.
Exactly. So because someone sees Julian is running a successful business, I think I can also run that business. No. And as you dive into it, there are so many other factors that consider a successful business.
Okay.
Location, where are you located, which customers are you serving, which class of customers are you serving, and so many other factors that determine a successful business.
Okay. And if Julian, now you could share your perspective from manufacturers' hopes now that we've got DRC joining East African community. Does this mean anything to manufacturers, more so women in trade? And what value do you think it's going to create? What change does it come with from your perspective?
It means so much to us as a business community. But then government needs to work on a few things. All the East African people working on these policies need to work on a few things. Okay. For example, language. Myself, around 2014, I was trading in Tanzania, in Kenya, and Rwanda. But the biggest challenge that I faced, first of all, was language, communication, the means of communication. Because all these communities, all these countries use Kiswahili as a language. So I didn't know the language at that time. So believe me, the bargaining and whatever, you face a lot of challenges. And then the currency. We need to get to use to one currency. because you lose a lot of money along the way. For example, I would come from here, then go to Nairobi, have to change the currency, then go to Tanzania, have to change the currency, then go to Rwanda, have to change the currency.
To trade.
You're trading and you're losing a lot of money in the process because you're doing a lot of exchanges. You're exchanging money from one currency to the other. So that's one thing that from a personal experience, something that I went through, that's, unless if they work on that, I don't think we shall have.
And actually, it's a new one again. I have not, for people we've interacted with, no one has yet highlighted about language. If East African community can come to discuss, how can we empower Kiswahili, because this is, you know, and also we have DRC coming on board. We have to consider their languages as well, Lingala, French, and
yes,
others.
but on a bigger perspective, we have a huge market of around 500 million people.
Please.
Yes. So Congo coming on board is a huge deal.
And then what do you think you're giving back?
For example, as women in manufacturing,
Yes,
first of all, would get market for our products. That's a huge market for any business person, whether manufacturing, whether trading. That's a huge market. And for example, if you look at the statistics, how much did we export as a country? That is, I'm involving the women's products and those which are not women's products. So around 2000, we exported to a value of 200 billion US dollars. That's huge for the country. So we are saying, as we open these markets, as we open to these East African, for example, these Congo, Tanzania, there are key things that we need to work on. For example, let's ask ourselves, how come we don't have a lot of Ugandan businessmen trading in Kenya? Why? The East African community, we've been together for some good time. But all this comes to one, like the personal experience that I've given you. Language is a huge issue. Currency is another big issue.
Okay.
Yes.
And speaking about currency and language.
Common currency.
Yes, the currency, and the East African community is working towards us having at least one currency that is going to enable us trade. We're going to go for a trade, we're going to go for a break rather, but when we return, this discussion continues, speaking about women in manufacturing, value addition, and trade. But before we go there, if you could highlight on how manufacturers better themselves amidst the price fluctuations or consumer protection influence that is arising from there. How are you protecting your consumers amidst all this that is happening? Aren't you fearing to lose them?
Of course we are. It's affecting our businesses so much. Every time you tell a client how much you're selling your product and you have to justify fuel, you have to justify reasons why everything has gone up, it is pushing. That's why I said the purchase power has gone down. We are no longer getting business as we used to do. But what are we doing about that? We are saying, we need to move with the trends. There is nothing much we can do now, but maybe what we can do is to make sure that we reduce on some of our profits and ensure that we maintain our clients until probably the situation does what? Normalizes. That's what we are trying to do.
Does that come with a cost? Share with me, explain to us from manufacturers, what is the pinch you're feeling right now as we are seeing all these escalations in prices?
The biggest pinch we are feeling now is that our clients are no longer buying the way that they used to buy. Believe me, the purchase power has gone down. People are no longer buying the way they used to buy. Everything has gone down. So our businesses are running very slowly. And then acquiring raw materials is also an issue. For example, I make furniture. That's one of the things that I add value to. I make furniture. So with fuel, shortage of fuel, there is shortage of fuel in Kenya. There is shortage. You heard about the shortage of fuel in Kinshasa yesterday. That's where we get our timber from Kinshasa, from Congo. From Congo, well. Our timber comes from Congo that we use. So you can imagine what is going on. So what we are doing is that we are trying to reduce on production, to ensure that the situation stabilizes. And then try to normalize the prices and not hike them so much. But look
I like
at
that
minimal
perspective of minimizing profits. I don't know how practical, or it's just theoretical here that you're speaking about it. I don't know how practical manufacturers you're implementing that. Now let's get into a break. We return to speak about value addition and what more can we offer in regards to East African community in implementations to boost our trade. Stick with us.